225 didn't reward effort. It rewarded adaptation. Jiu-Jitsu taught me this lesson actually way before Stonebelt ever existed. If you're new here, my name is Michael. Me and my family train Jiu-Jitsu, and we've been training for the last 5 years. And this year, in 2025, we decided to start building a Fightwear company called Stonebelt. Real life lessons that I had to earn on my way to building something, in the hopes that it's useful for you and that you can build something of your own using those. The first lesson would say is the famous saying that says position before submission. And when I was thinking about this, I'm thinking, everybody that trains Jiu-Jitsu has heard that phrase somehow in their gym at some point. In Jiu-Jitsu, you don't chase submission without having control over your opponent. If you rush things, you'll get swept, or worse, you'll get caught in some kind of a submission, or you'll gas yourself out. Either way, all the outcomes are pretty bad when you forget that you have the upper hand and you try to go for something. And this year has taught me that it's pretty much the same thing when it comes to business. You can't chase growth without a solid foundation. You have to lay the groundwork before you try to move forward. And with Stonebelt, that meant for us at many times slowing down in our first few months of operation, focusing on the products that we were going to be launching, focusing on our brand, on the logistic itself, the details that nobody sees behind the scenes and that are probably really boring to most people. But it was frustrating for me at times because I wanted things to move forward. I wanted our products to be out there. But all of these things had to be laid out. And I kept reminding myself that even though you feel this feeling of being rushed, it usually creates problems later down the line when you don't establish a good foundation. And Jiu-Jitsu is the same. If your position is bad, you'll get punished for it. And in business, it's exactly the same work, but it's in terms of financial issues. So you have to learn to juggle and find when it's the appropriate time to take risks and when it's time to just establish your position and find a way to survive. Which brings me to my second lesson. Sometimes survival is just progression. Some rounds in Jiu-Jitsu, and maybe you'll know what I'm talking about, they aren't about winning, especially when you're going against a higher belt. Sometimes those rounds are just about surviving, trying not to tap, or just trying to stay calm under the pressure that you're being put under. And 2025 definitely had months that were exactly akin to that. It wasn't breakthrough months. It wasn't nothing that we'd have highlight real moments to share. It was just pure grind. And there were weeks when winning wasn't even part of the option. It was simply not quitting. Not quitting was actually a win in itself because work, family, training, building Stonebelt, everything compounds, and sometimes you get tired. It's just human nature. And sometimes just not giving up in those situations is actually a pretty big win and makes you progress forward. So sometimes energy was low, doubt was very loud in my head. I was saying, this will never work, but survival is still progress. Even if sometimes it feels slow, just staying in the fight actually counts. And that's true when you're rolling, when you're on the mats, and it's true in life. There will be moments in life that are slower, more painful, and that require you to just accept that you need to survive. And then, after a while, you'll be able to progress. The third lesson is that you are what you repeat, or you are what you practice, I should say. Jiu-Jitsu doesn't reward only talent. Of course, there's many people that are more talented than we are, but it also rewards repetition. And sometimes that's the quiet, the boring, the unseen parts that people don't see. And it's true in business also. 2025 reminded me that brand building works kind of the same way. You design your things, you iterate your products, content that doesn't pop, some works, some doesn't, decisions that feel small and insignificant. Everything just compounds together, and no one sees these moments, no one sees the work, but it's being done in the background, and they stack up over time. They have some kind of a snowball effect, if you'd like. And one day people only see the result. They see the snowball come tumbling down at the end of the hill, and they're like, wow, a big snowball. But they haven't seen all the small beginning of these things. And repetition is what makes the small snowball become big, sorry. No one sees the amounts of reps that you do in the gym. Well, I mean, except maybe your teammates. I guess that's a bad analysis. But anyway, like, very few people will see what you actually do in the gym and the amounts of work and repetition that you put, but these will show up as the end result, and everybody's gonna see that. Stonebelt didn't grow as much as I wanted. We didn't get to launch our products in 2025, but I felt confident by the end of the year that it would grow because I kept showing up. Even when I wasn't confident that we were gonna make it, there's something about jiu-jitsu that drills these things into you, and I'm really grateful for having learned these lessons before going into business. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't have to wait to know every answer. You just show up and trust that you're gonna be able to adapt and learn what you need to learn to move forward. So here is some end of the year perspective, if you'd like. For me and for Stonebelt and for us as a family, 2025 wasn't about necessarily winning. It was about building a strong base, a strong foundation, something that's strong enough to keep us going into 2026. Building better habits, having more patience, more resilience, being humble under the pressure that you are in, or whatever situation that you find yourself in, and having a deeper respect for the process of building something has been all elements that 2025 has taught to us. Stonebelt exists because Jiu-Jitsu has already taught me these things: discipline, pressure, patience, humility, all things that you need in business, and when to take risks, obviously, which is another part of Jiu-Jitsu. The brand is just an extension of that exact mindset that we have when we go to train. So if you're training, well, you are building something in a way. And if you're stuck in the grind phase like we were this year, or I guess we still are to a certain extent, you're not behind, you're not lost, you're not going backwards. You're just building a better position. You're learning to be patient. You're learning to grind your way out of things. And that in itself is a good thing. It's a win. So I would encourage you to see 2026 as just the possibility of maybe moving out of that phase like we are, and hopefully going to a more exciting phase where you'll be able to develop yourself or your brand or your project or whatever you have in mind. It's been great talking to you guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.
Forged under pressure, worn with honor. Join the movement, subscribe, and follow Stonebelt.